Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today's video is going to be a news video. I have read 2 or 3 different articles on this, but the main one that I used came from the AP. In Germany, they have arrested 4 people. In Denmark, they arrested a handful of people. In France, a couple people got arrested. And in Norway, they were questioning a few people. It's still a developing story, but all of these different people were arrested for some sort of affiliation with Hamas-led terror groups, and there was enough credible evidence to say that a terroristic attack was likely when it came to arresting these different people. The Denmark and Norway have upped their terror watch. One of the countries has a 3-tier system, and they're on their second tier saying a terrorist attack is likely to happen. But going back and looking at this, there has been an increased amount of protesting and rioting in Western countries since Israel and Hamas, started their most recent squabble. So, what does that mean to us as, that 2 minutes, that's really all you need to know is, arrests are being made. If you go back, I know about a week ago, there was an article from, I think it was the New York Times here in the US, talking about they are seeing more and more people crossing the border illegally that either have ties to terrorist groups or are nationals from countries outside of Mexico and Central and South America. So it seems like people are getting more active, and it's kind of, it's a bad thing, but it's also less heard of as we move into the winter because less people go out and, protest, riot, do these things as it gets colder, and it doesn't seem like it is slowing down. The number one thing that I could say is, depending on the country that you live in, I'm here in the US, and this just checks another box for me on why it's important to carry as often as you can and in as many places as you can. And if you don't like the current laws that are in place that are restricting anything, then you should probably, be sending a letter, email, phone call to your reps to, try to change any of that. But where I live, I can carry just about everywhere. I have gone out of my way as a teacher to park away from the school. Like, I don't park in a school parking lot. That way I can keep my go bag and all of my essentials in my car, even though I also live less than a mile from home. But there are some places that are allowing teachers to carry, some places are not, and currently it's up to the school districts in the state of Texas on how they're going to implement that. The school district I work for doesn't allow it, but they do let me carry a pocket knife, so that's what I can have in the building with me all the time. So if it's something that is that big of an issue for you, work a job that allows you to carry the tools necessary to defend yourself. On top of that, you should be spending, your resources and your time to be prepared for anything like that that's going to happen. I just read recently about a shooting that was, it started to happen. I think one person got injured, and a bystander, stopped it. And the FBI says there's up to 1 million of these cases every single year that you really don't hear about because someone stopped it before it could hit that, four or more people and make a, national news headline. So, the number one thing is have the tools and training, regardless of where you live, to defend yourself. You should also be physically active. That way, in your own, little threat assessment, you can determine whether or not you are going to, just like a deer in the headlights, fight or flight. Are you going to stand your ground based off that situation, or are you going to evacuate yourself from that situation? And there's plenty of instances of people that have saved themselves by just realizing, you know, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time and I GTFO'd out of there. So that's something else you can do. Um, the other thing that I would add to that is, I remember being in high school when North Korea released a list of the places they were going to nuke. And every single spot on that list was a major, metropolitan area. The largest city I've ever lived in was Corpus Christi, and 3 days after I graduated college, I moved back to a town that had less than 5,000 people in it. So, got out of the big city, and, a lot of people wouldn't even consider, less than 5,000 people a city. They might even not even consider it a town. It's just a little dot on the map. So, getting away from that also really helps because typically the further you get away from the big cities, the less you deal with problems like that. But I see these things escalating. I don't see it cooling off until there is some sort of conclusion to what's going on in Israel and Gaza. So this is just your heads up on what's going on. The last thing that I'll add is, just staying hyper vigilant, keeping up with the news. It's a good warning sign when other Western countries are dealing with the same thing that we're dealing with, that it's not just an us problem, and that it is something that seems to be spreading more and more. So, keeping on top of, what's going on in your current events, I think is a pretty important thing. On a side note, there was a peaceful demonstration at Brown University. 41 students got arrested for trespassing. They were protesting the Israel Hamas fight going on, and they were inside the administrative building after hours. But it just shows that even though we're getting into winter, uh, this unrest isn't slowing down like it typically does. And we're getting ready to go into an election cycle. So, all of these issues that people are facing, whether it's, local, state, you know, federal level, and even international level, it doesn't seem like there is any slowing down to it. But with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you enjoy what we're doing with the channel, hit the subscribe button. And lastly, if you have a friend or family member that benefit from these discussions, share the channel with them. With that, catch you in the next one.